of the top 250. And the reason why I chose that number is because there are 16 teams with 11 roster spots. So that is 172. Wait, no, I'm but anyways, so to ensure that even though, because I don't know how to have all you guys draft live and then plug everything in and then pick all my other stuff, just to kind of make it easy. That's how I set it up. If you guys don't like it, well, fuck you. Hey, Cody. Hi, Jeff McKinney. Are we live?
Yeah, we're live.
All right, yeah.
Hey, everybody.
I think. Cody, make sure, are you seeing us live? This is looking a little bit different than normal. I think YouTube keeps changing things. And are you seeing the window or the tiled version of the show, if you can hear us?
Did it sometimes pop back and forth depending on who's talking and only give you one face?
No, it looks like
I think it might change it so where perma tiles unless Eccles changes it from his end. But I don't think Cody is like seated in front of his computer like he's getting up and walking around and
yeah. All right.
He might even be okay, so he's saying he sees all three of us at once right now.
That's Dracena Wine.
Oh, same difference. Hi, Lori. How are you? All I don't have the names. I just have like the
Oh, gotcha.
I just have that other thing to make space.
The thing. I don't know how it changed that way on YouTube, that it's the panel version now as opposed to whoever's speaking, but whatever.
Well, if you got away from tiles on your end, bro.
I'm back to the single person so I can see you guys in all your HD glory.
Oh, okay. So what if I want to go back to single person too? There we go. Yeah, that's how I want to look.
Yeah.
But Lori, you're still seeing all three of us at once? How's my lighting, Lori? Do I look pastier than you remember? She said yep, and I don't know if it's for the pastiness or the tile.
We get the emo hair view so well now.
Oh, thanks, man.
Oh, let me start recording.
I'm blaming my headphones on my bald spot.
Oh, thanks.
There you go. Ooh, am I coming through a little hot?
It sounds all right.
All right. I think I spiked there for a second. I'm on my laughter. Oh yeah, now it's telling me to shut up. Oh, I haven't even set up the audio yet. And I tell you, I had way too many kids in this house today. I'll have to make sure I cut that out.
Did you force them all to like try on the same Halloween mask one after the other?
How did you know? Let's go. All right, let's go there. Let's go. All right, let me just see what our opening sounds like.
Hey everyone, this is Sarah Fowler. I'm just calling from Page Deux in Kelmare, Napa Valley. I just want to join you all for We Like Drinking Wine, where no one ever drinks alone. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. All right. Do we have anybody? Oh, everybody's watching now. Hey, everybody.
Hey, who's there? How do you know who's there? I just see Lori said I look marvelous. That's the only thing I care about.
I see all the viewers.
Like you can see in their house?
I can. I've got an app.
You've got the American Pie set up.
Oh,
God. I've got the Obamagate app. I can look at you through your microwaves. It's amazing.
Wait a minute, I'm gonna go get my tinfoil hat.
You guys spying on my fantasy football campaign.
Yes, I think so. Yes. I want to know who you're going to take in the last round. Because I think you're going to draft yourself at that point, aren't you?
I was thinking, like, wouldn't it be great? I'll take Darie Ogunbowale first, but I think Cody actually wants him.
You can't.
And then I was also thinking about, just to bring things full circle, as the vampire, I could take Gardner Minshew first.
I was gonna say,
and if I take the whole league, I have to get the blessing of everybody in the draft live. If it's okay if I take Gardner Minshew,
I would so be okay with that. And what happens if you win the league, then you get the chance to win like a 12-pack?
Yeah, a season's worth of Bud Light.
Well, for
which
you,
I
that's a
think is-
6-pack.
Well, a season's worth for me is 0. Nah.
Don't be doing that shit.
Blah. Don't fucking yawn, bro. I'm trying to get hyped up here. Disrespectful.
This should just be the show. Fuck.
Cody says I should take Gardner Minshew. He co-signed. All I need is a second and a third, and I'll take
I
Gardner
already
Minshew.
said do it.
You guys don't count.
God, I hate you so much sometimes. All right. We're recording. I don't know. You guys ready for this?
I guess. I am always ready. I have been ready since how can I when she is so late on her cues?
Everyone, this is Sarah Fowler. I'm just calling from Page 2 in Calmera, Napa Valley. I just want to join you all for We Like Drinking Wine, where no one ever drinks alone. Cheers to that.
At the sound of the tone, the official We Like Drinking time will be 5 o'clock. Commence consumption.
This week on episode 294 of the We Like Drinking podcast, we'll be discussing fantasy football vampires, brewers and unions, and John and Jeff are respectfully going to tear each other new buttholes. So crack open that beer, uncork that wine, and let's get drinking! It's a whole new we liking of things this week.
I got you. You got Ron Burgundied. I always love it when Eccles doesn't read it beforehand.
I read it beforehand. That's how I wanted to read it in. So cheers, my podcast drinking friends, and welcome to Happy Hour 294 of your favorite award-winning topical beer and wine education podcast focusing on fun.
Fun.
And that
fun.
Go ahead. I can see you're ready.
Fun. Fun.
Like we had a friend of the family, and they had their little girl was like 3 or 4 at the time, and she would try to say spoon, but she would say fork, and so we kept trying to get her to say it, and I finally got her to say spork. And that was the best thing ever. I'm going to cut that out because that was stupid. I don't even know where that came from. So make sure you never miss another episode of our brand of drinking fun by visiting welikedrinking.com/subscribe. I need to
subscribe.
Come on.
Oh, wow. I'll tell you what, the funniest thing that I heard in a couple of weeks, Dan comes by, I'm brewing today, and he comes by the brewery, and he knocks on the door so he doesn't scare me. He's just like, you know what? The internet, it's overrated.
He's just now figuring that out.
Yeah. I laughed for a good 2 minutes.
So here we go.
You know,
200.
internet's Interwebs.
The tubes. Series of tubes. We're joined by our usual panel members. We got our California Sustainable Wine Growing Ambassador and recovering wine blogger, Jeff Solomon.
Hello.
Our commercial brewer and snake wrangler, John Ruyak.
Hey, folks.
And I'm your host and certified specialist of wine, Jeff Eccles. All right, let's get to what we're drinking. I am going to go with the sloppiest hair first. So, John Ruyak.
Yeah, I'm so original. Go to Great Clips and they say, "Oh, hi, Mr. Ruyak. The number 3, right? Right.
You want the old number 3.
The old number 3, 5 minutes, $20. I'm out. Yeah, it is a mess, isn't it? And again, I'm blaming that bald spot on my headphones. Today, I am not, it's interesting how your taste buds change. And this beer tastes exactly like it did the last time that I had it on the show, which is, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 months ago. I cracked open a can of Santa Fe's Happy Camper.
There you go.
And I'm not happy with it this time around. And it tastes exactly the same. It's just, maybe it's not what I wanted today. Not I thought I wanted when I bought it, but it's not what I wanted to drink today, but it's what I have. I went through one of those things at work where everything just tasted terrible. And it just, and there was nothing wrong. Everybody says beer tastes great, but when you're around stuff all the time and you're immersed in it, and sometimes your body chemistry is just a little bit off, you just go down the line and take a little sip and everything's just like, oh, why does it taste like this?
Yeah.
And then the very next day, who knows, whatever it was, you do the same thing. And like, yeah, that's what it's supposed to taste like. It's just this weird thing.
Interesting.
You know what they say, John.
What do they say, Jeff?
If you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. This is for a non-work, non-lizard tail beer, and this is a solid beer. This is a solid IPA. It's just, I don't know, it's just not what I wanted.
You're just not
what my psyche was wanting to do, I guess.
And you know what it sounds like? It's like no. Okay.
Cody, dilly. See, I read the chats more than our chat monitor does. Jeff Solomon, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, it's like the opposite of like a wine you had on vacation.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me. It's like,
there's absolutely nothing wrong with this beer. It's just not, just not feeling it today.
Yeah.
Not hitting the old T zone.
Yeah, here you go.
So let's make sure that it's just that your attitude towards the podcast isn't the same today.
A little bit of stress, family wedding coming up, kid getting married, weather is going to be iffy, trying to get things done at work.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I know what you mean, Jeff. Like, 'cause sometimes people will ask me, like, "Oh, you're on a podcast? How is it?" I'm like, whatever. We were nominated for 3 podcast awards. We only won 2 back to back.
Yeah. What's in your glass, Solomon?
I'm glad you asked. I am drinking the Fall River Brewing Company. They are out of Redding, California. This is their Hex India Pale Ale, coming in at just over 7.1% alcohol. 7.1% alcohol, 77 IBUs, and you know what? It's a solid IPA. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not blowing my mind or anything.
Yeah.
It's different. I've never had this before. You know?
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Isn't it? I mean, we've talked about this a bunch of times, but like 8 years ago, that would be considered a double IPA. It's 7 point something and 77 IBUs.
You know what it is? It's like it tastes like a maltier version of like Sculpin. That's what it is.
Wow.
Like, Sculpin's a little bit sharp. This
Yeah.
is more like evened out,
Ooh, cool.
stretched out. Like, it's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. So this past weekend, I spent some time up in Frisco, Colorado, walking Main Street, and there's a brewery or two there, and so we stopped in to High Side Brewing. 9,097 feet is that brewery, and I am going with the Dos Mas IPA. They consider it their flagship. Interesting, Jeff Solomon. I kind of get the same thing with this one. It's a good IPA. But I feel like there's a little bit of malt there that's maybe taming back the hops just a hair.
You know what I find interesting is you were saying before the show, you're like, yeah, we just got back from Frisco, and I kind of cringed a little bit.
Yeah.
And
I saw that.
yeah, apparently there's a Frisco, Colorado, and I'm sure it's fantastic. But here's the thing, like from the Bay Area, if somebody says Frisco, you cringe a little bit because you will get your ass beat if you call San Francisco Frisco.
Oh,
don't do it. Don't
gotcha.
do it.
Yeah.
No,
No,
just wanted to
Frisco's
say,
outside.
don't even talk about like Frisco, Texas, if you're in the Bay Area. Like people like look at you funny.
Frisco's just outside of Breckenridge. It's just a real small little mountain town. Cool. They shut down most of Main Street so that they could have restaurant seating out there. The entire town is masked. So even when you're outside, you have to be masked up. But it was nice. We were able to do pretty much anything we wanted to in town. Yeah, Jeff, that hair is just flock of seagulling it up. What's up, John?
Just that one.
So
hair.
I've just they closed down which street? I mean, if you miss the first exit and go down towards the end of town and take that exit and come all the way down, that whole street is, you know what I'm talking about when you get to the second exit. What's that?
No, I mean, you get off I-25 there, and I'm sorry, 70.
Right.
And you get on that on 9, Highway 9,
which goes to Breckenridge. But if you miss that exit and go like a mile and a half down, there's another exit that just kind of loops you right to the end of that main street.
To that main street, and it's not the whole main street, but it's the business portion of it. Which is like 7 blocks.
7 blocks.
Yeah. So.
I ate a lot of French fries in the basement of a restaurant on that main street one time, didn't I?
at Eric's, downstairs at Eric's.
Yeah, lots of French fries.
Lots of French fries. How many tangents have we gone on now?
What?
How many tangents have we gone on by?
I'm surprised a cow didn't show up in that story. I feel like this is y'all getting back at me like anytime there's someone from California on the show and we start talking about like, oh, did you take the 5 over to the 405? Like,
now you know what.
Oh my God.
Now you know. And the more knowing is half the battle.
This is a horrible podcast.
Well, yes.
How did we ever get nominated for 2 awards and win?
Listeners.
Best lighting on a podcast.
You know what's really odd? I'm looking at myself and I look a lot like David Gilmour tonight.
Listeners,
I can't play guitar like him, not even close, but I do look a little bit like him.
294. Never share this episode with anyone. All right, let's see if we can turn things around a bit. Let's get into the show. Let's amp it up with a little bit we like to call wine, beer, spirit, or pop culture reference. You know what's going to happen here, folks? I'm going to give the panel member a term, and they're going to try to tell me if it's a wine term, a beer term, a spirit term, a pop culture reference, or directions to some town. The term is
Moo.
Bobek. Or Bobek, or whatever you want to call it. So is Bobek, let's call it Bobek. A wine term, a beer term, a spirit term, a pop culture reference. Jeff Solomon looks like he's trying to hold a fart in, so I'm going to go with him first.
Well, that's how I always look because I always am. How do you spell Bobek?
Bobek.
Bobek. Bobek. Bobek. You know, I got a friend named Nick, and growing up, I used to make fun of him. I go, Nick Bobek. And so maybe that's what it is. It's just like the pop culture reference that it's part of the name game. And yet...
that Jeff Solomon used when he was a kid. How did you get it? I'm shocked.
That was a hit single, The Name Game. John, you were alive when it came out. It was like
I know
early...
that, but you were saying one specifically that you used. Oh, fuck this episode.
Let's do Marsha, Bob. Okay. And yet, Bobek. How did you pronounce it?
I tried Bobek and Bobek.
Bobek. Oh yeah, that's what it is. Sorry. It is a pop culture reference, but it's not the one that you were thinking about. It's a little, I mean, it's a family show, but we work the edges here. So I was a little, you know,
taken.
I guess Eccles is going there. John Wayne Bobbitt.
Damn it, you stole my
is a guy who's who had his you know his thing was cut off by his wife, successfully reattached. So successful that he parlayed the most horrible thing that could ever happen to somebody into the most regrettable thing that somebody could ever do, and he became a porn star. I don't know why this is what we're talking about, but okay. John Wayne Bobek with the detachable penis. That's what that is.
Did you play that song very often when you worked in a record store?
Detachable penis. Bow, 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 bow. Detachable penis. No, I never heard that.
John, have you heard John Riak?
What?
2 questions. Have
Yeah.
you heard the song Detachable Penis? 1, and 2, Bobek.
You know what? I heard, I was in California about 23 years ago, and I heard it in a record store, but I couldn't tell you who the artist was.
King Missile.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, man.
And he lost it, and he had to buy it back from some guy that was selling it on the street.
Not even on eBay.
I know, it was before the internet. How what are the odds that you find somebody selling your own penis on the street?
Way overrated anyway. Bobek, this is another one of those things where I've seen the word and I can't remember where I saw it.
You can't. The way you were nodding, I thought you knew it, or maybe
I'm just like
jazz musician Dave Bobek.
That would be Brubeck. Anyway, no, this is a wine term. This is a grape. It's a grape from what are those countries? Bulgaria, Romania. What are those countries called again?
I think you said their names correctly.
Yeah. That part of the world. I can't remember the term for that.
Flyover.
Yeah, it's the Kansas and Nebraska of Eastern Europe. Yeah. Not Slavic countries. Whatever. Yeah, it's a wine term. It's a grape.
Just go.
It's a grape from the Eastern Bloc.
There you go. Joseph Stalin, drank it with breakfast.
Bobek is an excellent guesses, everyone. When Jeff goes low, John goes high, apparently, is what happened with that one. But the term Bobek is, in fact, a beer term. It is a hop. Even we went back to the original version of this game. It is a hop of Slovenian origin. So, John, I guess, and a descendant of Northern Brewer hops.
So does Melania Trump's family grow that on her
possibly.
farm in Slovenia?
I mean, I guess we could give some points to Jeff too, because this varietal is commonly used to enhance the aroma of many beer styles, including both English and Belgian style ales, lagers, and pilsners.
You know, if Melania Trump's family grows Bobek, it's only because Michelle Obama's family grows it as well.
Bobek. Let me see. Yeah, we've lost like 3/4 of our viewers, so that seems to fit. All right, so I think when we're listening to this, when you're listening to this episode, and you're wondering, man, the guys are off tonight. Things aren't gelling. I think it's because I think we're all a little nervous about tonight's episode because we're gonna try just a bit of a twist on our usual format. Normally if we have a guest, this would be we interview people. If we have a specific drink we're having, this would get into the nitty gritty of that drink. And when it's just the three of us and we don't have any of those things, it's just kind of we go into booze news and we may try to get through 2 or 3 stories, and it just doesn't it hasn't been feeling right when we've done those in the past, or we just talk about what the first 15 minutes of the show has been. But tonight we're gonna try and go a little bit more in depth, really about a story. So it's kind of a booze news, but we're gonna just go a little bit deeper with it. So I guess we'll go ahead and still call it booze news. That's debatable.
I love that.
The flourish was just like, yeah.
You just need like a little stinger there. It's like booze news. That's debatable. Meow meow.
Well, we are talking about Minnesota, so.
All right, so John, you are going to lead us into this one, and we're off. Your time starts now.
No, okay, Mr. Moderator, you can't time me on background. So there's been this brouhaha. Mm-hmm. That's been coming to a head at Surly Brewing in Minnesota. So just this past week, Surly servers at their fancy schmancy beer hall location started a picket line. I guess they're protesting outside of the beer hall in reference to the fact that they recently ratified collective bargaining with what's it? Truth Right or some sort of servers union for.
They're called Unite Here Local 17.
Okay, Unite. Okay, so I'm sorry that I didn't get that right away. I did read it anyway. So they certified a union within their shop, and Surly decided that they were going to close down that particular location, and they gave the state 60-day notice. As a large employer, they have to give 60-day notice by law of mass layoffs. So the workers felt like this was union busting, and they decided to take their grievance even more public and pick it outside the thing. And they're getting some support from the locals. And it all goes back to the fact that Surly is closing this place that's business is down 82%. But there seems to be some disagreement between management and workers. Go figure, regarding the reason for this.
And this is a large beer hall, right? This isn't. This is
small
brewery or anything like that.
No, it is. They're since the beginning of the the pandemic shutdowns, they've lost $750,000
Okay.
at this location in and of itself, and they're down. Their sales are down 82%. So so they've started. There's been some pushback from the employees. That's not the reason for the fact that they decided to go to collective bargaining and have representation from a union in the first place.
Now, do you have anything of the timeline of when Surly announced they were going to close and when there was an announcement they were trying to form a union, or they did the vote?
They certified the union a couple days before Surly decided they were going to close the space.
And that's before Surly notified the government of the shutdown.
Surly
notified the workers.
Notified the workers.
Okay. So
I can give you dates if you'd like.
Sure. Yeah, you can go ahead and do that.
I think that matters also just because this is a story that's kind of in process. Today we're recording on Tuesday, September 8th. So on Monday, August 31st was when the Surly workers through Unite Here Local 17 announced their intention to form this union. That was on a Monday. Then 2 days later, on Wednesday, I'm sorry, let me backtrack. I just want to make sure I get the dates right. So Monday, August 31st, they announced that they were forming this union. On Wednesday, September 2nd, that's when email notices were sent out to all the employees. It was over 100. I think it was closer to 110 employees who were given their 60 days notice that they were being laid off, and that it was the timeline was essentially like, these jobs are not coming back, is what they told them. So 2 days later is when that happened. Now, as far as like the picketing that we're talking about, that's just a couple of days ago. But again, as everybody's hearing this on Friday, things might be different. But as of recording, they're actively picketing the brewery.
And they are closing the entire facility down, that entire facility down, correct?
That beer hall. They have others.
November 2nd's the last day of that beer hall, which includes like a pizza place, a tap room, and like an event facility. But yeah, we're also talking about the, size-wise, yes, they're a craft brewery. They're the 34th largest craft brewery in the United States. So they're not necessarily small per se.
Yeah. Okay.
So yes, they're still making beer.
Okay.
But yeah, John.
And just this location was unionizing.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. So that's the story that prompted this discussion. So we're going to talk about this. And as part of that, we may also talk about unions in general, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It's possible.
It's possible. All right. So, John, why don't you go ahead and I guess just go ahead. And do you want to talk about this particular story in first, or do you just want to go right into the union as a whole?
Well, I think it's better to lay foundation and then discuss specific situations and how it relates to craft beer or boutique wine or distilleries or what have you. So I think it's best to do that.
Okay.
And let me preface this by saying, in my undergraduate business courses, I had a fine teacher who has since passed away, and I had him for three different, including statistics, which was very interesting. Anyway, he said, in general, unions and management generally deserve each other.
Okay.
I
hear you.
That being said, my background is my father was in management at a the world at one point the world's third largest steelmaker.
Okay.
And through mismanagement and union demands, that company no longer exists.
Okay.
And my grandfather's and my father's pensions were taken over by the United States Pension Recovery Fund. And my grandfather in his 90s had his income cut in half, and my father's income greatly reduced because of the Pension Recovery Act. So I have a very dim view of unions.
Okay.
But be that as it may, and my mom was a scab. A teacher. When I was growing up in Orchard Park, New York, the teachers union struck for 2 straight months, and my mom broke the picket line to go in and teach kids.
Okay.
Because she felt it was more important for kids to get taught than it was for her to be yelled at by crossing a picket line. Be that as it may, the union movement was important at one point. It was. People were being taken advantage of, miners, factory workers, what have you. The history of labor, people, the treatment of workers in the late 19th century and early 20th century was pretty despicable. Not to mention child labor and all those other things. Working conditions were terrible. They were terrible. That being said, this is the 21st century, and there's a lot of other fallbacks that I don't feel unions are particularly necessary. And in fact, another experiment in human collectivism that has gone bad. In general, let's just say that union shops tend to pay higher wages, which makes the company's products that they produce less competitive. They either command a higher price to the consumer or result in lower profits for the company and its shareholders. So it's pretty well-known fact that yes, union shops have higher wages. The other thing is that there are several segments of the economy where unions represent a very closed, or companies or society can be held hostage to unions. Firefighters, the police. I'm sorry, one of our panel members is a teacher. Teachers. Society can be held hostage to the demands of to these groups, which, everybody has their own fish to fry, their own families to take care of, their own concerns. But I mean, is the collective needs of a police union more important than public safety? Is a collective needs of a fire department more important than public safety? Is the collective needs of government workers? I'll leave the T word out of the discussion. Is a collective of government workers more important than the smooth operation of the government services that those people provide? So let's think about that. The other thing that unions do is they foster mediocrity.
No, I'm just I don't want you to go through all 17 points without letting anybody else speak.
Sure,
You're really meandering all over the place, which I'm fine with. But I need you to either make a point, just one, and let Jeff counter, or wrap up your.
I do want to hear 17 points, but no, it's not for me to monopolize time. You're right.
So before I talk about it, I do want to. I just did want to get specifics on how unions foster mediocrity, because it sounds cool. I just want to hear it.
Well, unions protect workers as a whole. Okay, so whether or not the whole provides an adequate service, there are people within that whole that do not pull their weight, and others that do more than their fair share.
And to that point, are you? I mean, I assume that you're saying in general, or that this is your opinion, or do you have specific examples of where this is truth? Do you know what I'm saying?
I will. Okay, so I'll give you my experience with that. When I was working as a timekeeper for a construction company in New Jersey, we had several iron workers on the shift, and we had 5, and 4 of them were pretty good, and they got their jobs done. And I was a timekeeper. I was the paymaster. I'm the dude who went down to the union hall and purchased the stamps. Right. So this other dude was in that ironworkers union for 30 years, and he wasn't pulling his weight, but he was still making $12 an hour more than the other guys that were doing their job.
Okay. And do you think that in the environment that is not union, that there aren't that same situation doesn't arise?
That same situation does arise, and those people can bargain for their own hourly rate, and owners of companies, whoever is generating that agreement with human resources or sources or wherever, can say, no, you're not as productive as other people. We're not going to pay you that much.
But they could have a job for 30 years and be a slacker the entire 30 years.
Sure, they could.
And they could make substantially more than someone else.
Yeah.
Okay.
They could.
Okay. I just want to make sure that you're not saying that that's just a union thing.
That's not just a union thing, but it's my experience with it.
Okay.
And it wasn't, and that was with those iron workers. We also had bricklayers. I had masons on that job as well. Same situation.
Okay. All right. Jeff, John has had a lot of time to speak. If you made notes on his points that you want to counter, or if you just want to go off for a bit, feel free.
Yeah, so I here's what I want to do. I want to reference some of the points that he made, but then maybe use the specifics of what's happening with the surly workers to maybe bring everything around, right?
Before you do that, can I just say, thanks, John. My phone is exploding right now.
Must have some union. You must have some card carriers in your family.
I've got some union family members.
Oh, dude. It's interesting. I will say, and I think that you know, there are a lot of reasons why people might end up choosing a certain side, right? What I will say is it's apparent just from, hearing John talk, and as Jeff, you're talking about now your phone's blowing up. These are honestly like ideals that people start forming opinions about unions, like maybe before they're even fully aware what a union is. To me, that's just like from a sociological perspective, I think that's super interesting, right?
And really, I'll even say that I think it's especially true for us, our age, because I think we're in this we're Generation X kind of thing. We're this weird middle of the road thing where our parents' unions were very much a thing. Like, I remember bringing soda to my mom while she was picketing a job that she had, but the generations behind us, I don't know if it's as prevalent as a society as a whole.
But that's the thing. Maybe I want to bring some relevance to that, because here we are talking about today, and we're referencing the past. I mean, I hear John saying like, look, this is the 21st century. I mean, is there really a need for it now? There was then, but is there a need now? In the same respect, I think he almost made a bit of a point right there. When collective bargaining takes place, there is, really, when we're talking about a society where we've got owners and we've got management and we've got workers. Workers don't necessarily hold as many chips, right? A worker can't hold the job of an owner, over their head. And so when you talk about the real basis behind a union, there really is strength in numbers. I think John makes a great point for that, that people in union jobs compared to the same jobs that are not unionized do make more. And so I think that is a great point, John, and I appreciate you bringing that up. I also see that in that same breath, we were mentioning this results in lower profits, lower share prices. And then I just start thinking about the bigger picture again, where, I know that obviously businesses are in the mode of making money, and one of the ways that you can make a lot of money is if it's a publicly traded business and people are buying a piece of that pie. Your earnings are earning more for them, and it's building up upon that. But again, it's being built upon the backs of, like, if you don't have any workers, that business doesn't happen, right? I'll get back to the idea of held hostage in a second, because I think that's some really loaded terminology that I think anybody on any side could use. I could say, as a worker, I might feel that my employer is holding my whole life hostage, in the sense that there are certain terms that I need to meet in order to make sure that I'm still earning, to make sure that I still have insurance, to make sure that I can still take care of my family, right? But to bring relevance, I mean, let's be very specific here. If we're starting to look at why the workers at Surly wanted to start forming a union, we could go back into let's go back. I don't want to go too far back. Let's just go back to 2018, right? I was thinking to myself earlier, I swear I've heard of Surly before, and I've never had their beer before. And I know that they're a larger craft brewery, but I could have sworn that we had talked about Surly before. And I don't even know if this ever made the show, but I know that we had this conversation. In 2018, Surly paid a $2.5 million class action settlement because in 2018, they were violating workers' rights in accordance to Minnesota law. They were forcing their workers to pool tips. They were forcing them to do this, even though it's against Minnesota law. They were doing this as a way to pay the kitchen staff more off of the backs of the service staff. And obviously service staff and kitchen staff, they're working together. It's one big unit. And certain folks will say, here, I want to give you a cut of my wages. That's fine, but to force pooling in that state at that time, that was an illegal practice. What made it even more illegal was the fact that there were some servers that complained to Surly about this, and they were subsequently fired, right? And so the servers at Surly who filed the class action lawsuit were the ones that spoke up about it, were the ones that got fired, right? So Surly, from the get-go, I don't know if they have a real history of treating their employees, at least from the service perspective, very, very professionally, right? And so here we have an employer kind of really kind of pushing their weight around on their employees. But we're talking about the COVID era, right? And that's what, in the release that Surly said, why are we shutting the doors? It's because they're saying that they can't really operate under these restrictions. This is a gathering place, and our numbers are down 82%. And they're saying all these things, but this is something that's been building for months. Everybody was shut down for a while. And as Surly started to open up, they had set it up so people could go inside. They all had to gather and order at the bar in order to get food before they would sit down. And multiple employees were making complaints that this isn't safe because we're having all of these customers that are all gathering in one area together. And what do you know? A Surly employee got COVID. So they had to shut down. And then the mayor had to step in and say, look, we cannot have this practice anymore. So until they were forced by the mayor to make all these changes, they were doing things that were keeping the employees at risk, even when employees were making these complaints. The other thing we should note is that the Surly service staff, and this will be my last thing before I yield the floor. The Surly service staff was forced to make a pay cut upon reopening, which I can understand. Everybody has to make pay cuts. But Surly added a 15% service charge to all of their card bills. They stopped taking cash, which, by the way, I ain't paying in cash today. I get that. So they added a 15% service charge to everything. They removed the tip line from all of their credit card transactions, and none of that extra money was given to the servers. So at this point, they said, you know, they're not listening to us in terms of our issues with how they're handling safety here. They're charging customers more to make up for these losses, but they're also making us take a pay cut. Like, we're not seeing that 15%. And on top of that, they're asking for health benefits, which I think are pretty important in this time and age, right? And as you kind of put all those things together, at the same time, there are multiple other service folks at different locations throughout Minneapolis and St. Paul that are joining up with Unite Here Local 17, including Tattersall Distillery and Spy House Coffee. Both of those businesses recognized the union and are currently going through the collective bargaining process, right? And here we have the employees at Surly who announced their intentions to be part of this union, and the response from their employers was a couple of days later to just shut down basically the service part of their business. You know, I'm not one to say, here's exactly why they did this. You know, Surly in their own little blog on their website said, you know, this is just really bad timing, and we support, you know, them wanting to get union representation. However, it smells kind of shitty what's happening there, and I can see why people would be upset, and I could see how they hired people the week before, and now all of a sudden they're laying everybody off, and they're saying that this was something that was in the works for weeks. It just doesn't necessarily stand up. You can feel how you want about unions as a whole, but I really think that Surly is coming off pretty shitty here.
Okay. All right. John, any counters to any of the statements Jeff had there?
No, I'm going to agree with most of what he said. This Surly, and we talked about this company before.
Yeah, we did.
They make gluten-free beer, dude. What the fuck?
Yeah, this sounds like a company that just shouldn't be in business. You can't treat people like that. That's just bullshit.
Go ahead, John.
Don't ruin your thought.
No, I was just kind of like, I'm like, yeah, like I agree with you. And it seems like it seems like that would be, I can understand where the workers are coming from in their grievances and how they're trying to go about it.
I would be really pissed off. But I'm not going to disagree with anything that Solomon said in reference to the Surly situation. How can I disagree with it? It's the fact, and you can't treat workers that are driving your business like that. You don't deserve to be in business if you treat your people like that. On the other hand,
Would you
hold on,
be willing to say that
Jeff,
it almost comes off as being illegal and disgusting?
you know,
that's what Shay Freeberg of Unite Here Local 17 said in response.
Hold on, Jeff. I want to let John finish his statement. Don't make me mute your microphone because I will. So John, go ahead with what you're going to say.
Is it disgusting? Yes. Is it illegal? No. You can't force a company to stay in business. You can't.
No,
you can't force a company to continue to lose money. If what they say is true, and if they lost $750,000 since the beginning, and they're looking at losing another $750,000 through February, are you going to cut your nose off to spite your face? If you want union representation for the rest of the company, why would you want to drive this company into the ground by forcing them to spend all that money to run a beer hall that's losing money hand over fist?
So
that's the problem I have with unions, is the fact that they feel like they can run companies into the ground.
I hear what you're saying, Jeff. Hold on, because I'm trying to stay level in this, but I will.
You're doing a bad job.
Of course I am. I do a bad job at everything I do, but I want to make a statement here that's really not pro or against unions, but this is where I think it's if we're talking about any kind of negotiation, I think that both sides need to have at the base of it a common goal. And I think a lot of times this is where these things break down, because it turns into this us versus them, and it turns into this where the union is looking out for the union over the company. I think that's what you're saying, John. You're saying that the unions some unions, not all unions. I know I have family members who work for a union who, as part of a negotiation, took pay cuts because that was right for the business as a whole, and they worked to make the business successful. And as part of that, their union members had to agree to take a pay cut. And if you're coming from that standpoint, if your union and your business are both saying we need a profitable business where both sides succeed, then you have success. And if you have management who is trying to screw over the union, or you have the union that is trying to screw over management, that's where you get this angst against each other, and that's what drives the company into the ground. I don't think it's necessarily the union that drives the company into the ground. I think the business, in this case, Surly sounds like they're making some pretty shitty decisions that could drive themselves out of business, not necessarily that 100 people are saying your business practices are BS and you won't listen to us, so we're going to go call some outside help. So I think when you can get both sides to work towards a common goal, I think they can be extremely successful. I don't think we would be anywhere near where we are as a country without unions at one point in our history. If you want to go to a point of saying they're not as valuable now, I can listen to you. But I just wanted to make that statement. I don't care if you guys want to.
No, there was. I don't disagree with protecting workers' rights. It's like all the people blowing up your phone, they're calling you or sending you messages because they had a good experience with them. I did not.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
did not. I had personal, very bad experiences with them.
Yep.
So that's in real life experience.
Yep.
On as a kid and as an adult. So these were not things that were formed in my youth.
They were formed.
I was earning paychecks when I made these decisions about these things. That all said, Surly doesn't deserve to be in business. How the fuck did they get to be the 34th largest craft brewer treating people like that?
Wow.
And here's the thing. Now, here's the thing. Yeah, pandemic, and you want to protect your job, and you don't want to get sick, and you don't want to have people gathering in one place to place an order. I don't get that, because if you're going to seat 5 or 6 people at a table and you're going to walk up to those 5 or 6 people sitting at a table, I don't know how that's any different than taking an order from behind a bar. Just let me say, you're walking into a more concentrated place when you're walking up to a table with several people sitting around it, regardless of whether the fact that they order their food with a mask on or not, and you've got it on or not. And if they're ordering stuff at a counter and you've got space in between you, not sure I quite get that. It still sounds like Surly managements are just pieces of shit.
There's a line of people at the bar to order versus spread out at a table, I think. But anyway,
if you're really that concerned, there shouldn't be that many people in the place in the first place.
So John, I think, and I'll give you my perspective on that, but I almost think it's almost beside the point, because we don't have a detailed account exactly of how it was set up. Was everybody sprawled around hanging over the counter together, or was it a line with taped off like 6-foot measurements? Those things matter. I think regardless, what we're saying is, the employees brought up concerns about however that setup was. The employer didn't really pay any mind to that, and it wasn't until somebody got COVID that worked there, and it wasn't until the mayor came in and said, the way that you're doing this, however you're doing this, is not following these guidelines. It can't work that way, right? But yeah. I want to go back to, obviously, workers can't sue and force a business to stay open if they're not making any money, right? I get that. But I do want to go back to the full statement from the union representative, Shay Freeberg. And this was from the 2nd. So when the layoff notices came out, and it includes some words that I've said before, but I think bigger context, I think, is important here. She says, "We think this is a clearly illegal and disgusting act intended to intimidate and retaliate against employees for forming a union. Up until Monday, that would have been the 31st, the employer let employees know the intention was to stay open over winter. We've filed an unfair labor protection charge and will fight as hard as possible," right? So as I look at this, like, I guess what I'm saying is, what the brewery is saying in terms of, this was in the plan for weeks, that's absolutely not what they were telling their employees, and what they were saying to their employees did not change until after their intention to form a union. And I definitely think that matters here. The other thing we do need to remember is, when they're making those 82% numbers, they're talking about that specific location, right?
Yep.
Surly, the entity, I obviously they're taking a hit. And like, look, I can't even pretend to know how difficult it could be owning, that's a bigger craft brewery. But like, when I think of just like a smaller business, I can't even pretend to know how difficult and how stressful that is, even when things are going well. And I don't want anybody to ever think that I'm trying to discount that, right? But just as I even look at like the statement from Surly, here's a little section right here. They said, as we close the doors of the beer hall, we're still moving forward. We'll adapt, change, pivot, and change again. The beer hall is, I'm sorry, the beer hall is going to be around later. The reason why it's open now is probably for people that I betcha with some folks, they're saying, look, dude, how much were you getting paid? 14 an hour? I'm going to pay you 20, 25 an hour through the end of this to keep this open. They're making little side deals, right? And as long as they continue to make those little side deals, what happens is it flies in the face of collective bargaining. Everybody as a whole, and I'm talking about from the workers' side, I understand, right? Like, look, if I were running a business, I would envision that anything that I'm paying to any of my employees, and this is just me looking at like the bottom line, trying to make as much money as I could with whatever rate I'm paying somebody, I would hope during good times that there's wiggle room with every single salary that I give somebody. Because that wiggle room, it added up over a whole bunch of people means a whole lot more money for a business. And also that wiggle room leaves me the opportunity to bargain a little bit. When I have one employee that's like, dude, why am I not being paid more? You know, I'm doing all of this stuff. Well, I can have a little negotiation with them on the side and say, you know what? Yeah, you are doing better. In fact, you're doing great. In fact, you're one of the best employees that I have. And I'm going out of my way to discourage conversations that other employees are having about how much they're getting paid. And we have these discussions all the time about how it's not even polite to talk to each other about how much you're getting paid. But I guarantee if you went into any business and everybody just openly on their chest wrote down how much they were getting paid, you'd get a bunch of people that were fucking angry, dude.
Yeah.
And because they'd see like, I've been undervalued all this time. I get all these glowing reports and I'm not getting paid as much as this person. I think collective bargaining, I swear to you, and I understand that there's a lot of shit that comes with negotiation of things in general. I think in general is happier, that is proud to work at this place where they feel like they're being heard, where I feel like, and I love all my bosses, like I really do, and I get along with them, and I hate the type of employee that's like, all bosses fucking suck. Like, fuck you, dude. Like I really think that's bullshit when that stuff happens. But like the other thing is, if my boss is doing something that I know is either wrong or illegal, I'm honestly not afraid to point out to them that I think you are asking me to do something that is not appropriate. Like, and you can't do that in an environment where you're not unionized. Like, you can't do that.
I mean,
you could, but your job's gone. You could call somebody out on that stuff, but your job's gone.
But that's also why we have whistleblower laws in practice.
Anti-discrimination employment laws. I'll say three quick things. I'll say three quick things in conclusion.
Yep, and John, you're going to get the final word on this.
He got the first, he gets the last.
Yeah.
If you say anything untoward, I will keep talking. You know, John, if you and I got together, I think Eccles would pay us more.
Wait. John, go ahead.
So first of all, if you put all your eggs in one basket and one skill, you're not doing yourself a favor or your employer a favor. You have to be multi-talented. There are certain situations I get where, but you're really painting yourself into a corner if you're depending on a certain amount of pay for a certain skill and you're not developing yourself beyond that. You're making yourself less valuable to yourself and less valuable to your employer. The other thing that people don't realize is you're never going to get paid what you're actually worth. That's why you're constantly improving yourself and improving your skills and improving your job performance so that your pay incrementally increases behind your actual value to the company. Okay, that's just the way it is. You're never going to get paid what you're actually worth to a company. It just can't happen. Once you reach a level, then what's your incentive to get any better if all of a sudden you actually get paid? Is it personal pride? Whatever. Human nature takes over and says, you know what? I've reached my maximum pay. Do I really need to improve my skills anymore? Do I really need to work any harder? Do I really? No, I don't, because I've reached, my employer says I'm worth this much. This is my maximum value to the company. But the other thing is, if that's the case, if you've reached that plateau, you have the ultimate power. Go get another job.
I think all those points are extremely valid, but I don't know what they do or do not, how they are anti-union at all.
So are
there not pay grades? Okay, are there not pay grades within unions? Do you
look? There are pay grades in non-union shops as well.
True enough.
At every corporate job I've had, there's been pay grades, there's been minimums, there's been maximums, there's been all those things.
So look, Eccles, you're wondering what he said there that was like anti-union. I think he built like this weird like union straw man. What I heard was, if I work for a union, I am I am
and
if I work for a union, I am basically specifically good at just one particular thing. I really don't have any reason, and I know you didn't use this word, but this is what it came off as. I don't really have a reason to develop my character or my self-worth.
I said job skills.
It's my turn to talk. I listened a lot, buddy. I threw myself on mute because I didn't want to interrupt you. You should do the same, actually, in general for the podcast. I also hear you saying that if people must always be underpaid, because if they get paid just enough, there's no incentive for them to do a better job. And if they don't like it, go get a job.
A different job.
A different job. Now, here's the thing, right? There's a lot that goes into it. And I think that it really, part of it kind of depends on how much you've invested into that job to begin with. I'm looking back to when Anchor Brewery unionized in 2018. This was after Anchor was sold to Sapporo, by the way. And I'm sorry, it was 2019 they unionized. The tipping point for Anchor and the reason why their employees unionize. And by the way, all those macro brewery jobs, all of those places that are making bank, fucking Budweiser, Molson Coors, those are all union protected jobs, right? And those companies make a shitload, bro. But going back to this, the tipping point for Anchor, there were two big things, and one of them's a little bit more of a joke, but it mattered to people. They took away the Anchor employees' shift beers. That was the They took away their fucking shift beers, but also they had employees that had accrued 180 hours of sick pay. And one day they just said, nah, we're changing it to 80. Just one day, just fucking cut somebody that they've been working for years. They cut their sick pay, right? And so when you talk about, oh, just go ahead and get another job, think about how much time was invested in this one particular job that was giving you all these promises, that was giving you all these things, and then one day just decided, we're changing the rules, right? And that's the thing. Like, what is the need for a union today? I'll tell you what. As a teacher, and I know people want to say like, keep politics out of teaching, and like in my classroom, I don't talk politics at all with my students. But what we need to understand is the position of a teacher is a position that exists and is crafted by politics, by the wants and desires of the people, by the opinions of the experts, but then by the money that is trickled down by politicians. And the reality is, in the world that I live in, there are entities higher up that want to change the rules all the time in a career that at this point I've devoted, my God, I've been working in my district for 18 years, right? And if one day somebody just came in and said, you know what, you guys get 10 sick days every single year, we're just going to change it to 5 all of a sudden. Well, my union is there to say, well, no, you don't get to do that, right? And I think that's the thing that matters. I guess the big thing I'll say is this. I really think, going back to this my initial observation, that like a lot of this stuff is ingrained in us from before we even really like talk about what unions are. Like, what are the thought processes of management and of unions? A lot of these things we're kind of taught as we're growing up. This is how those people think.
But I think even once you get into those roles, I think there is a constant stream of information from within your own circle that perpetuates either side. So if on the worker side, there's a constant flow of pro-union information, and if you're in the management side, there's a constant push of anti-union.
Okay, but here's the thing,
and I agree with your point as well.
Yeah, and so here's the thing that I just really want to like emphasize here, right? I don't know if there's really anybody from the outside looking in that doesn't look at the situation at Surly and go, well, yeah, what the fuck, right? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that, yeah, what the fuck, really comes from if a group of employees say, hey, together, we wanted to talk to you about X, Y, and Z, and we would like to negotiate together, right? I think that there is this weird knee-jerk reaction of like, if I'm the perspective of the business owner, what I see in the actions that happen here and what I take away from visceral reactions that I hear from people is that an employer takes offense when employees say, we are starting a union. When what it could be is, well, let's talk. What should we change? And I think that's the thing where it's like, if there wasn't this trigger, like, what? You guys are talking about this together? Like, it's a fucking union is just, here's workers speaking together on their behalf.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. To that point, I hate to ask another question because we're already going so long. Was there any information that any of you saw on what the workers were asking for?
They were asking for legitimately transparency in working conditions and talking about health benefits. Because
Okay.
what different employees would say, yeah, so-and-so said that in a couple of months they're going to start offering us health benefits.
Okay.
Right?
I don't want to go into detail.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
there was specifics about it. Okay. And
about the 15% service charge that none of them saw money
dude,
from.
that was the part that was the part where I hated her Surly.
I just up and quit.
Who named who names their business Shirley?
So
Leslie Nielsen.
obviously over drinks we're not going to solve anything, or we're probably not going to change anyone's mind, but this was a really good discussion. John, no, I'm not going any further into
No.
Here's what I want to say real quick. Blanket statement. Unions as a whole and employers as a whole and management as a whole are not good, nor are they bad. There's individual shit that can go on that are the things that people should be addressing. There are way fewer unions than there used to be since the 1980s, when a particular president started kind of backing certain rules. But I just really think it's this weird shitty thing. Somebody wants to start a union. Why do you give a fuck?
I think
do you give a fuck, Jeff?
I think I understand. I think you hit on it. There's a knee-jerk reaction to the word. There is a visceral response to the word one way or the other because we had that entire conversation, and it wasn't until the very end they were like, oh, by the way, what did the employees even want? And we had all already formed an opinion, and when I first was kind of hearing about it, I was like, oh, fuck yeah, close it down. I get it, because I didn't look for any of the information because I wanted to try to stay out of it. But, as you hear the information, it's like, yes, as with everything in this day and age, get the information before you form your opinion, I think is the rule that we all need to be following for any situation. And I think out of all of this, what we can agree on is fuck Surly.
100%.
Yeah.
Shirley? You named your beer Shirley?
Oh, they've put their own nail in their own coffin. They're toast.
Yep, and I also think
gluten-free toast.
I think all of us can unequivocally say that the role of the union overall, for the middle class and for everybody else, has been a good thing throughout U.S. history, and they have put protections in there that we feel today, whether we're a union or not.
Occupational safety. It matters.
Now there's definitely poor unions out there. I mean, they are a thing. Dude. There's it really bums me out. So here's the other thing, dude. I'm not. I can talk it up. I went into a job that already had union representation, right? Like long before me. And I'll tell you what, I am not the type of person that would ever have the balls to actually start a union at a non-union job, because I know that there's a good chance I'm sacrificing myself. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Like I get that.
Yep.
There's a lot of workers that do not speak up. Only 10% of jobs in the United States are union jobs. In breweries, by the way, it's 0.5%.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that makes sense. I think that's understandable. I mean, because you need a collective to be able to do it, like they're doing with Surly, right? You need an outside union to come in to make it happen, because generally a brewery. How many people are employed at your brewery, John?
Altogether between both places, 9.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a place that small can't even begin to have.
And it's a different story. It's more like, hey, did you talk to John?
Okay.
John said,
I
"Fuck
mean,
you."
well, I don't know why you made the sign. Why don't you just go talk to John? He's right there.
Apparently, my grandma started a union.
There you go.
My phone is. It hasn't stopped.
Oh well,
I love you, Mom.
get that John
Hi,
off the
Annette.
show.
You're
Get that John off the
killing it.
show.
She still loves you, John. All right, so that was a fun discussion. That was
I'm not so sure. I'm on the fence.
I'm sure listeners, you have some opinions about this show.
Hey, in the chat, speak up. Why are you silent?
They all
There's nobody there.
left. They're all gone. It's just my mom who won't go in the chat because she's just yelling at me via text.
They're talking about unions on the We Like Drinking podcast.
You know what? I heard it. You two were talking about a union before on the podcast, so it's
Last call.
Last call.
time to clean house and lock the doors. You know,
Are we making it to 300? I don't know.
I know we may not. This may be our last episode. You know, we do here for folks. We're looking for a little bit of help from you. Follow us on social medias at Twitter, where We Like Drinking 1, on Instagram, We Like Drinking, Facebook, We Like Drinking, or follow us on our private Facebook group known as the Tavern. You can find out more by visiting welikedrinking.com/tavern. If you have some opinions about this episode, which I am sure you do, leave us a review, give us 5 stars, and then bitch at us in the comment portion of it. Go to iTunes, hit the 5 stars, and then tell us how wrong we were or how right we were or who you agreed with, whatever. And finally, if you've done all that, you can give us money. We like that stuff by visiting We Like Drinking.
You know what? Let's just call it union dues.
I was thinking about you can join our union by visiting welikedrinking.com/pledge. Oh my goodness, that was a entertaining episode. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. It was our first try at it, so I realized it was kind of wonky. If we do something like this again, we'll make sure it's a little bit cleaner in how we present it.
I apologize for our fuck up.
Yeah, dude, you haven't even gotten any feedback yet. You're apologizing for a show that nobody's heard.
I'm speaking to how I was on the show. That's what I'm speaking.
Well,
to.
But that's nothing new.
This is true. You can also find the show notes for this episode with all the links to the stories or mentions we had at welikedrinking.com/episodes. Holy crap. It's the time of the show where I get to say, okay, panel, let's take one last trip around this table and get some final thoughts before we shut off the lights. John Riak.
I don't give a fuck what you think about unions. This weather's bullshit.
Dude, it's fucking snowing here. That's Solomon.
Well, last week I was talking about the worst fans in all of music, but upon further reflection, there's one fan base that is worse than the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and that fan base is fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Quite literally, like, they're all fantastic musicians, and that goes for the Chili Peppers too. Fantastic musicians, but that the songs that they choose, that actually makes me more angry, honestly, that the songs that they write and they choose to play are fucking awful. And then I feel like the people that say they love that music, like, they're fucking gaslighting me or something. Like nobody really loves that, right? Like, can I give you my Dave Matthews? Okay, cut the music. I drank too much. Shuckadoo, shubbadoo, shubbadoo. And the guy, bring the music back. The guy with the violin, can you get some fucking, like, a new bow? Like, the horsehair is, like, shredded off. It's, like, down at the floor. They fucking suck, man. I'm sorry. Your phone's blown up. Annette is like
Talk to me
so
about
bummed out.
talk to me about Fish.
Oh, dude, what about Fish? I couldn't name one of their songs. I know they suck too.
And with that, I'll say thanks again for joining us at the We Like Drinking podcast.
Where you'll never drink alone.
Wow, my knuckles are really hairy.
Suck it out. Suck it out. Take your hat. I'm gonna chop more lines. Suck it out.
I love you, Mom. Oh my God. let me just say one. So 17 text messages, including head on fire emoji and red faced with cursing signs over the mouth.
Yeah, I'm glad I pissed some people off.
And 18. There's another one. She says, "I love you guys too," or maybe she just said that to me. All right. I think my mother is the only one left watching. I don't think anybody else is left.
Hey, Jeff McKinney, thank you for sticking through to the end. Let us know your thoughts on unions.
Yeah, I mean, if you've made it this far, we would really like not. Yes, we'd love to hear your thoughts on the union, but we would love to hear your thoughts on the
debate format
as a format, like us taking sides. And if we do it again, I think I really let these guys just go this time, but I think I will come in next time and have questions that they don't know regarding the topic. I thought this was going to be more of a surly discussion with some union stuff thrown in, and it turned into way more union with a side of Shirley.
I'll take a side of Shirley with that.
So let us know your thoughts on it.
These union people with their loud music.
My mom says, "Love all of you." But I'm interested, and part of it is try to get try to piss you off a little bit. There's a little bit of trying to get you engaged a little bit more with us too, is part of trying to do this. So let us know your thoughts. I mean, we love your guys' feedback on what we do. And, I think great pop culture reference that really came about. It was something we threw in. We got really good feedback on it. And that's why it stick around so long. So we're going to end the show now at 1 hour and 35 minutes.
Wow. You know what? If you don't give us some feedback, we're going to start talking about smoked whale testicles on every episode.
Yeah, we're going to bring it up on it. All right. Love you, YouTubers. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Mother.
Viewers.
Around to the very end.